In a conflict that has already reshaped global geopolitics, a new chapter has begun. Ukraine has confirmed a direct attack inside Russian territory, an escalation that carries consequences far beyond the battlefield. While the scale and exact nature of the strike remain disputed, its political and strategic impact is undeniable. As tensions rise, both Moscow and Kyiv are sending strong messages, not just to each other, but to the entire world. Tonight, we break down what Ukraine and Russia are saying, how this attack could change the war, how the international community is reacting, and what this could mean if Donald Trump returns to power. Ukraine has acknowledged carrying out a strike inside Russia, framing it as a legitimate act of self-defense. Kyiv argues that Russian territory is being used as a staging ground for missile launches, air raids, and logistical support targeting Ukrainian cities. From Ukraine's perspective, striking these locations is not escalation, it is survival. Russia, however, sees it very differently. Moscow has labeled the attack an act of terrorism, accusing Ukraine of crossing a red line and threatening Russian sovereignty. The clash of narratives highlights how fragile and dangerous this phase of the war has become. Ukraine's official statement. Ukrainian officials insist the attack was strategic, limited, and defensive. They argue Russia has repeatedly attacked Ukrainian civilians. Russian military infrastructure lies safely beyond Ukraine's borders. Without the ability to strike back, Ukraine remains permanently vulnerable. Kyiv also emphasizes that it remains aligned with international law and continues to coordinate closely with Western allies. The message is clear. Ukraine is signaling that no part of Russia involved in the war is completely untouchable anymore. Russia's response and Putin's position. The Kremlin's response was swift and uncompromising. President Vladimir Putin condemned the attack as proof that Ukraine is being used as a tool by the West to weaken Russia. Russian officials warned of severe retaliation, expanded military operations, possible changes to Russia's rules of engagement. Domestically, the attack is being used to reinforce the narrative that Russia is under siege, not just by Ukraine, but by NATO and the West as a whole. For Putin, this moment is about control, deterrence, and internal stability. But what impact could be on the war itself? Strategically, this attack could change the war in several ways. Expanded battle space. The war is no longer confined to Ukrainian territory. Higher risk of escalation. Russia may respond with heavier strikes on Ukrainian cities or infrastructure. Psychological impact. The idea that Russia itself can be struck challenges Moscow's image of strength. However, escalation carries risks for Ukraine too, especially if Western support becomes uncertain. How the international community sees it? Global reactions are mixed. Western nations largely reaffirm Ukraine's right to self-defense, but quietly express concern about escalation. European countries fear the conflict spreading closer to NATO borders. China and the global South call for restraint, warning that the war is destabilizing global trade and energy markets. The strike reinforces a growing reality. This war is no longer regional. It is a global geopolitical fault line. What effects can be on the rest of the world? The consequences extend far beyond Ukraine and Russia. Energy prices may rise again. Global food supply chains face renewed pressure. Defense spending is increasing worldwide. Diplomacy is becoming more polarized. Every escalation pushes the world closer to a long-term era of instability. What would Trump's position be? If Donald Trump returns to the White House, analysts expect a dramatic shift. Trump has previously criticized endless military aid, claimed he could end the war quickly, pushed for negotiations over prolonged conflict. A Trump presidency could mean reduced U.S. support for Ukraine, increased pressure on Kyiv to negotiate a strategic reset in U.S.-Russia relations. That possibility alone is already influencing calculations in Moscow and Kyiv. Ukraine's strike inside Russia marks a turning point. It exposes how thin the line is between defense and escalation, and how fragile global stability has become. Whether this moment leads to deterrence, retaliation, or diplomacy will shape not just the future of Ukraine and Russia, but the future of the world order itself. The question now is not who struck whom, but how far this war is willing to go.